start recording. And I'm just going to call the meeting to order at 7:33 p.m. And Philip, the president, is out for the next 3 weeks on a nice vacation. So for tonight's meeting, I'm going to be chairing it in his absence. And one thing you may have noticed from the agenda is that we gave the police the night off, but they did provide us with a written report. And Anna, I'm going to send that to you so that it can be included in the minutes.
But Sergeant Melgoza is here.
Yeah, he's here to help. Hi, Sergeant Melgoza. He's here tonight to help represent RPD with the discussion about the traffic and everything. John has been working with numerous agencies which are here represented, including Public Works and RPD. And so Sergeant Melgoza is here on behalf of Lieutenant Deschus and RPD for that discussion. So I'm just going to give a few very quick updates from the RPD report. Again, the whole report will be included in the minutes for everybody in more detail. One good thing about January was that the number of incident reports went down. In December, there were 22. In January, there were only 7 for a 68% decrease. The calls for service went up from 159 in December to 167 in January. If you look month to month from January 2023 to January 2024, again, the incident reports went down 18 in 2023 to 7 in 2024. And the calls for service again were up 157 to 167 January over January. The primary calls for service, the top 10, I'm just going to give the top 3. 19 were for audible alarms, 14 were for security checks, and 12 were for disturbances. Traffic hazards was 9. So given tonight's topic, I thought I would include that one out there as well. The Officer Tagorda has also been telling us the top 5 locations for calls of service. The top 5 this month were 7 at 100 block of Park Place, 6 at 100 block West Richmond Avenue, 4 at the 10 block of East Richmond Avenue, 4 at the 900 block of West Cutting Boulevard, which is one of our, these are always our hot spots. And then the last one was 4 at West Cutting and Canal Boulevard. And the primary incident reports, the types were theft, vehicle theft, mental calls, auto burglary, and assault with deadly weapon, but not a firearm on a police officer or firefighter. And that was 1 count of that. So again, we only had 7 incidents reports. And so January of this year was significantly lower than in past years. So that was the good news on that report. And all of those details will be included in the minutes that you'll get next month. And with that, that's all I really have for the president's report. So Margie, is she on now? Is Margie here yet?
Yes, hi.
Oh, hi. Do you have a treasurer's report, Margie?
Yes, we're about little over $14,000 beginning of this year.
Great. Thank you, Margie. And Eric, do you have a membership report?
I do, yes. Good evening. Last meeting, we're at 173 paid members. We have 3 new members this time around, so we're at 176.
Cool. Always good to see an increase in membership. Okay, so with that, we're a little bit ahead of schedule. I'm going to give just a very brief background as to our presenters this evening. So we'll let them all introduce themselves before they start with their presentation. But we have members from the West Contra Costa Transportation Advisory Committee, otherwise known as WCTAC. We have people from the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, and we also have people from the CCTA, which is the Contra Costa Transportation Authority. And I don't think there's anybody from Caltrans. Is that correct, John? I don't know if John heard me.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. And then Sergeant Melgoza is here representing RPD. And Caesar helped me reach out to WCTAC. And a lot of this is centered around the significant traffic gridlock that many of the people in Point Richmond experience when we have bridge incidences and there's backups on I-580 and the surrounding streets and on and off ramps. And there was also a presentation that was given regarding the bike and pedestrian lane on the 580 bridge to the Bay Area Toll Authority Oversight Committee back in November of 2023. And there were questions from the community regarding some of the data sets that were presented. And so I shared some of those concerns on how some of the data was normalized and presented based on traffic volume with the drop in COVID during the pandemic. And so John reached out to his fellow colleagues and people that he collaborates with all the time at MTC. And they're going to give some analyses tonight. They went back and looked at some of those analyses, is my understanding, and they're going to give us some updates on that. And this is not intended to be a discussion about for or against the bike lane. That's not what that's about. What this is really just looking at is incident and response times pre and post the bike lane incidents so that we can actually understand how that may be contributing to some of the traffic gridlock that we are seeing in Point Richmond in particular and how that's impacting our community. So they're going to give a little bit of an update on some of those analyses. And then the second thing that we asked them to do is when they presented, they told us that the plans for reassessing how they're going to do the tolling at the bridge entrance, as well as some changes on the parkway, that's not supposed to happen until 2026. And we are needing much more immediate help with addressing this gridlock. And so they had formed basically a working group with representatives from the various agencies from WICTAC, MTC, CCTA, Caltrans, Public Works, and the police to actually see if they can figure out some solutions to help us in the meantime, knowing that what is planned in 2026 for the tolling situation at the bridge, as well as changes on the parkway, they're not even sure how that may impact some of our gridlock in our city, right? There's a lot of unknowns here. And so what we're trying to do is just spark a conversation to allow the community to give their input and their concerns and to then try and come up with solutions to help the situation, both in the short term and then in the long term with additional changes being planned for 2026. So with that, I'm going to I'm going to let the people from all the various agencies introduce themselves with their title and then proceed with their presentation. And then we'll open it up for questions and answers to the community.
Well,
So John, do you want to go first?
let me start. I think John unfortunately lost his voice.
Yeah.
So we wish you well, John. He asked me to jump in and introduce the item, but quite honestly, did such a great job explaining it. I probably don't need to say much. But yeah, we have staff from MTC. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, as well as John from WICTAC and Robert, the city engineer, here to basically help answer questions. But before we do that, we do have a PowerPoint presentation basically to present more data based on the last presentation MTC did, hopefully clarifying some of the questions you had in mind. Also, we quickly gonna describe some of the improvements in the pipeline that you mentioned. We call it Richmond San Rafael Forward program of projects, as well as what we're trying to do to actually help alleviate concerns you have about the backup and blocking of the neighborhood driveways. So with that, let me maybe ask Lisa to introduce herself, and maybe she can introduce the other members as well.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lisa Klein from MTC and the Bay Area Toll Authority. We're one and the same board members and staff, but just sometimes sometimes go by one name or the other, depending on the context. So Listen, I'm really glad to be here with you tonight. I think I'm so glad that you all have reached out with your questions and that you found your way to John and then John to us, because I do, really welcome the opportunity to hear your questions and concerns, tell you what we know about the data, what additional data we're looking at, and so forth. I have my team here today. I brought, the experts in all of this, all of this work. James Go is going to be able to talk to you more about the data, which comes from this analysis that the Berkeley Partners for Advanced Transportation, PATH, we call them PATH, is doing this analysis. So James can really answer your questions there. Ingrid Supit is the project manager for those forward projects, and we may tread a little lightly on those to start with, because I think you want to sort of talk about the what's happened, what could happen sooner on the local side, but I want to make sure that we can present some information in that. And I'm also joined here tonight by Peter Lee, who's a key team member, working with all of us on the corridor. So that's my team. I do want to just start out and just really assure you that we have heard loud and clear the concerns about congestion. That's both, I think, congestion that's grown in the corridor as a whole over time, even apart perhaps from the current pilot project, and also, have heard through a lot of public comment, I'm sure we'll hear more today, about the very real impact that has on your community, affecting ingress and egress. So that growth and congestion. So just want to start out by saying that. Maybe with that, we can launch into the slides. I think, James, you've got the slide deck, right? And I think you could just start in with some, answering some of the questions that we heard that you have about the data in the study. So.
Sure, sounds good.
So, yeah, I think you can skip the slide, because that's really just the purpose we just mentioned.
Yeah, this one, I think, go ahead to the first, the before, the after study, and just take it away, James.
All right, perfect. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Like Lisa mentioned, my name is James Go. I'm with MTC. Been with the pilot study since 2020. My primary role is managing the barrier contract on the bridge and any operation and maintenance issues, coordinating with Caltrans on those. The next few slides, I just wanted to share some additional data from the pilot, the bridge pilot after study. That is, I did want to clarify that this is a Caltrans-led report. They did contract this study with UC Berkeley PATH, as Lisa mentioned earlier. I know that there were some questions and comments about the data that we presented back in November, and I think with the data that you saw in November, we tried to simplify, maybe try to oversimplify what was in the pilot study, that may not have conveyed, what clearly, especially in the, again, one or two slides that we had. So I did want to mention that in the second bullet point here is that there was a initial phase 1 report that was published back in summer of 2022. I embedded a hyperlink into this PowerPoint. We could also share it. It is a public document that you could also Google, and it's a pretty lengthy report with a lot more data than I can present during this meeting. And then in the I guess as far as timeline and what to expect is that in the next summer, or this summer actually, of 2024, that's when the final phase 2 report will come out. And the details of the report do study the impacts of the new part-time shoulder traffic lane on the lower deck, and also the impacts of the bicycle pedestrian path on the upper deck in the westbound direction. Okay. So this slide is an excerpt again from the phase 1 report. Unfortunately, I'm not able to share any or leak any data or current data based on the pilot study until the report is published. And so a lot of what I'll be presenting is some of the data that was, again, you can find on the phase 1 report that was published in summer 2022. A lot of the data in terms of the trends are fairly consistent with what was observed in the 2022 report. And there are also some comments and suggestions that we've made that I'll discuss further later. So this slide shows the congestion extent along the Richmond westbound approach, and it shows I guess a yearly comparison of the congestion. So you could think of each of these blocks as a year. It does take in the average weekday fall season data. From left to right is your time. And then from top to bottom is your is your, I guess, alignment along the west if you're traveling westbound. Toll Plaza being at the top, and then Marina Parkway being, closer to the bottom. What the red or what the colors in the graph or in this chart symbolize is that if it's red, you're traveling, vehicles are traveling below 15 miles per hour, which is, pretty evident here that, the slow traffic peaks during the AM morning commute. And the extents of the congestion year after year have been, I guess, consistently around the Marina Bay Parkway exit, with the exception of, obviously 2020 and COVID. So that is this data. It's the source is from INRIX, which is a data source that a lot of traffic consultants and engineers use as far as analyzing current traffic data. This next slide, it's again, it's just very high level. It shows analysis, or at least the study of the impacts to the local arterials, which is southbound Castro Street, southbound Richmond Parkway, as well as westbound Cutting Boulevard. And, similar to the previous slide, each block does represent a year, except here you're looking at congestion going from bottom to up. Bottom being where the 580 interchange is, and then up is kind of in the northern part of the street or the arterial. And so along Castro Street, what was observed is that there were congestion along Castro, prior to 2020 when the bike path was installed, and also, even a little bit afterwards in 2022. But I guess the conclusion from the report shows that there's been no negative impacts on the local arterials based on the data that's been gathered from the sources. Although there does appear to be some along Richmond Parkway as far as, increased in the peak period.
If I could just add to that, I mean, I would say, again, this data comes from the path study, so it's very focused on the impacts of the bike path. And Lisa, you said up front, that's not really what, that's not really what the focus of this is. So, I think James wants to just show you that there is quite a bit more data in this report if you're interested. But I also think I want to say, while this suggests there may not be an impact. It also shows that there is congestion on these local roads, right? And I think
Right.
it's important that you hear, you know that we do see that as well. And that congestion itself is really the question, I think, that you know, that you're interested in hearing about today. So, or how we address that. So thanks.
Thank you, Lisa. And then the next two slides, I did pull some excerpts regarding incident and response data. This chart on the right the top chart shows incident types along the bridge approach, and then the lower graph shows the incident types per million miles traveled on the actual bridge itself. And it has all the different types of incidents that was recorded from the data source called TASIS. And you know, again, this just shows the kind of I guess the oscillating periods, or at least the amounts of incidents year after year. And again, what the pilot study had in the report was that incident rates have not noticeably increased. And one of the comments that we have asked the UC Berkeley PATH to do in their final report is to filter these incidents just to look at during the AM peak period, and so that we can see what the impacts are, again, just during the between the 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. Morning commute hours, and to see if there's any noticeable difference there. We've also asked them to also kind of parse out the COVID period, and to treat that separately from the what we call after, so that there will be some type of after/COVID period, and then also a post-COVID period as well, so that we can also split up that type of data. So that's something that we have commented on and are expecting to see in the final report. This next slide is on the incident duration and response times. The charts actually are from CHP CAD, which are logged manually by the dispatch. And the left chart here shows the incident duration in the y-axis in minutes, and it's a scatter plot of the incidents, with the x-axis being the time in years since July of 2016. And so again, it does have a lot of data in terms of and they were able to average out the before and then after. And similar comment to the previous slide, we have asked UC Berkeley PATH to also filter out only during what it looks like during the AM peak, and also to treat the COVID period a little differently, because that's something that we wanted to see differently. And on the right, this is what the unit response time is from the minute the unit gets the call to the minute the unit arrives on scene. A lot of this is interpreted from the logs, because it's the way it's time stamped, and whoever logs it. So that is how this data is collected. And let's see, and again, it just shows the averages and the median of the before and after time, and the number of incidents for those periods.
Maybe we can just pause there for a second, because I think one of the reasons we brought this data in particular is because we understood in the presentation I gave in November, I gave an average over 3 years of the duration, and I think it was the duration response time average over 3 years. And I think you asked a very good question, which is, if you're averaging over 3 years and 2 of those years are COVID, maybe that's not a good number, right? Because maybe that incident response time was really fast in COVID. There was no traffic. And so that's why we're showing you this is really the disaggregated data from the UC Berkeley report, right? So when we averaged it, we didn't realize, we didn't sort of think about it. When you pointed it out, we said, oh yeah, we should show you the disaggregated data. So you can see that there is, from the data reported here, there's not a dramatic difference in the response time during COVID and before and after COVID. Now, the reason we've asked Pat to look specifically at the morning commute is because you can imagine that, if these accidents are all in the middle of the night, of course it doesn't matter if there's, if it's during COVID or not during COVID, because there's no traffic anytime. But for the accidents that are just in the morning in the congested period, we are curious if, if there has been a change in the response time. So that's what we're asking Pat to look at. Now, I will say the number of accidents is not that large. So, it's not that large. So it's unclear, I guess, how definitive the results of that analysis will be when Pat gets done with it, but we do think it's worth looking at. So that's what we've asked to do.
Can you just clarify, what is the time? What is the morning? What's the left and the right side of that time period?
Yeah, so the time period isn't shown on these graphs. This graph just shows you the rates by month over year over year.
No,
but
in the new analysis. In the new, is it going to be
in the new analysis
to 10 a.m.?
So 5 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, James.
And that report, I know you guys said it's due summer of 2024. So I think there was one question in the chat already. When will the 2023 data be included? And I'm assuming that will be in the 2024 report, and that's sometime this summer. Is that correct?
That's correct, Lisa.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So those are, again, the slides that I pulled out of the report to just, again, expand on the data that we presented back in November. Again, I do encourage, if you have the opportunity to read through the 2022 report and get a maybe read into more of the data and the reasonings behind them, and also if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out, and I can also make any comments and relay them back to Caltrans.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was the normalization component based on the vehicle volume.
Correct.
Yeah. And the time of day that Lisa just brought up. So
yeah, I think it's hard to normalize the incident response time by volume. The incident rates are normalized by volume. But I do think the response time, by bringing it down to time of day, I think that's going to be much more, I think that's really important because it doesn't take long to respond if there's no congestion, right?
Yeah, and the fact, and I think that one of the biggest concerns, and people can speak to this in the Q&A, is when the bike path and pedestrian path takes away an emergency response lane, right. That is what's many in the community feel is impacting the response time for emergency services, and then it just snowballs onto the backup and the effects on the community. So we can get to that questions, and I'll let you guys continue.
Okay.
All right, and then now I'll transition it over to Ingrid Supi, who's the project manager of the Richmond Forward.
Thanks, James. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ingrid Supit with MTC. I'm a principal engineer managing the Forward. We call it the Forward Initiative, Richmond San Rafael Forward Initiative, which consists of several projects that some of you might already very familiar with. And then, which one of those that you mentioned, Lisa, is about the open road tolling. and then HOP lane project. So I think I kind of saw someone asking in the chat about like whether they should comment on this map. So I think I just kind of want to show this map to kind of like say that we really, I guess, aware of the situation about the congestion on the freeway that's impacting the local traffic. So that's the reason why I think we started, we call it a design alternative assessment for the Richmond Parkway interchange, which is essentially it's a feasibility study. And then we are looking at like how people kind of like bypassing the Richmond Parkway, going, cutting Tewksbury and then get onto the freeway, because if they continue on Castro, there's a long, very, very long queue. So this is one of the area that we're looking for, and then we're gonna move forward with a project working with Caltrans in the next couple of months. So James, can you move to the next slides? So I'm just gonna touch base this project really quickly, since some of you already very familiar. This is one of the open road tolling that we are doing for the 7 state-owned bridges. So this one here is essentially we are trying to provide a safety and operational improvements by replacing the existing toll structure with the overhead toll gantry. So we're going to remove the booth. That's kind of like the booth itself is kind of like make people to slow down with the 7 lanes, weaving out and weaving in again when they get to the bridge, which is only 2 lanes. So we're trying to make it efficient by like providing only 4 lanes. That way the merging is going to be smoother than what it was before. So, and then also we are reinstating the previous HOV lane from Regatta Avenue all the way to the Toll Plaza. And then with these 2 improvements, we expected some travel time savings to the overall traffic, not just for carpool, but there's a little bit for transit, for the general purpose. Currently, as shown on this slide, this project will be done by the end of 2026, which Lisa pointed out earlier that it is taking a long time. But currently, we are working with Caltrans, try to find a ways to accelerate this project, and we're targeting. There's a chance probably we can complete it by the end of next year. Next slide. So this is the project that I mentioned before, that I showed the map to show that how people cut through the traffic along the local to get onto the freeway. So this is really the project that we started as a feasibility study. And then we just completed that study last fall, and then there are a few improvements identified from that study, which focusing at the on-ramp at the Castro Street. So essentially, we are looking to add 1 additional left turn lane from the southbound Castro to the loop on-ramp. That way, it will allow for a longer storage capacity at the Castro Street. And then, so as I mentioned, that we're going to start the project with environmental clearance and project approval in the next couple of months. And we're hoping to get this completed by 2026 as well. So it's kind of like in line probably with the open road tolling project. And then at the same time, we're also working with Golden Gate Transit and AC Transit as well to identify some transit improvements. We were looking at installing a transit signal priority along Cutting Boulevard, and then also some bus stop improvements that can complement the TSP, the transit signal priority, and also other amenities such as benches and stuff like that. I think that's all I have for the improvement. I know that Robert and Hisham probably have some proposed improvements on like in the near term, because we mentioned that, you know, like this forward project is going to take a long time.
So yeah, thank you, Ingrid. You know, after we received your email, Lisa, we actually met with WICTAC, CCTA, MTC, and the city to figure out what we can do in the near term. And you know, one of the ideas, and I can see the comments in the chat. What we have here is a lot of cut-through traffic in the neighborhood. And what we need to understand is where these people are coming from. Are they coming from the neighborhood itself? You know, are they coming from outside the neighborhood? And if there is a way we can meter that traffic away from Point Richmond, you know, by basically installing signal signs, restriping, to figure out a way basically to back them up or store them away from your neighborhood street, so you can at least get out of your driveway. So what we did is we asked Fear and Peers, it's a renowned traffic engineering firm here that's already working on other projects, the Richmond Forward projects. We asked them to basically put together a scope of work for us to study the situation you have at hand and to come up with some recommendations on how we can address it. And we did get a scope of work from them like a few days ago. You know, CCT and WICTAC will work together on funding that study. And once we see the proposed solutions, I mean, we do have the regional Measure 3 funding to help fund these improvements. Of course, once we have the study recommendations, we will come back to you and present what they found from their analysis. They plan to use big data, you know, like NREX, what they call streetlight information, and, you know, like Google, to figure out where people are coming from and which routes are they taking. You know, I saw in the comments say, people, you know, the map we showed didn't show the traffic on your neighborhood street, even though that's what sometimes Google recommend for drivers to do. So we acknowledge that, and that's what we're trying to understand. So we're hoping this will be a quick turnaround. I mean, the study will take probably a couple of months to complete. And then once we have recommendations, we will work with the city on funding and implementing quickly. I don't know, Robert, if you want to add anything. Okay, if not, then I think I already covered this. So the study will start in April, and hopefully we can come back to you in June or July to present the results.
And do you know, Hashim, will is part of that scope of that work going to be looking at the actual Point Richmond streets that are impacted? Like, are they going to be monitoring that traffic and measuring it?
Yes, there will be collecting turn movement data at certain intersection within Point Richmond. We can share the scope of work with you too, Lisa.
Yeah, that would be great, because even if you just email it, we can always put that into the minutes for the community to give feedback if there's something missing. I know Philip and James went on a tour with John and pointed out a lot of the key issues and where they're occurring, but it's always good to have the members of the community review that, and multiple eyes always, you know, that's always a good way to go, and somebody might catch something that was accidentally, you know, omitted. So
sure, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. I think with that, that's basically our presentation, and I think the team is happy to answer any questions you may have.
yeah, and so before we open it up to the community, again, the point here was just to let the community know that through Caesar, we finally got a team of representatives to hear all of our complaints and concerns, and pretty, I would say, immediately responded. So I actually really want to express my gratitude for everybody in the agencies that came together really quickly, and John helping facilitate that, and to come back to the community in a very timely manner, and to look into this and to try and find the funding to address this and provide more immediate relief. I mean, it has so far been a very nice collaboration, and so I want the community to know that this isn't going to happen overnight. We're absolutely trying our best to get something in place, both short term and in the long term, to help everybody, because this is a serious public safety, it's a health and safety issue for the public, for emergency ingress and egress, people getting out of their driveways. Everybody understands that, and we're all trying to figure it out. So with that, I just want to kind of encourage collaboration here, highlight to people your concerns, what you're not hearing, what you want to see. If you didn't hear it being addressed, please express that tonight, because like they said, there is a scope of work that they just heard back on, but if there's something that is omitted, and if we have that opportunity to change that scope of work, we should do that tonight if possible. So who has questions or concerns from the community? I'm sure there's some out there. Peter?
Yes, I was just, while they were speaking, I went to Google Maps and took a look at the situation and from the satellite. And on 580, you've got 3 lanes, and those 3 lanes, 4 lanes, they barrel along merrily for miles after miles after miles. And then when they reach the toll plaza, it swells out to multiple toll spots. And I understand they're going to be removed, but even now that they're more or less open, it converges from 5 or 6 lanes back down to 2 lanes in 100 feet. If you just went from 3 lanes to 2 lanes, I think that would probably eliminate most of the congestion. You wouldn't have people funneling down in such a short area. And I think that would eliminate a lot of the congestion. I don't know. My father was a traffic engineer, auto engineer. I'm not, but I'm just curious what you think of that.
Yeah, we totally agree with you, and that's really the plan. I don't know if Lisa or Ingrid want to jump in.
Yeah, I can take this one. So Peter, you're right on spot about, like, one of the reason why it's becoming a bottleneck. It's because, like, from 3 lanes you move to 7 lane, and then you merge, with a short distance to a 2 lanes, right? So the thing that we do with the open road tolling is basically we are minimizing that. So we keep going with the 3 lanes, and then the 4th lane is coming from Stenmark Drive on ramp, which is like the volume is very, very low. Mm-hmm. And then we merge to 2 lane. So you're right. It's 3 lanes. We're going to merge with 2 lanes when we open the project in 2020.
So once this is done, a lot of this might go away, or at least it'll be dramatically reduced.
Right. Yeah. That's based on the analysis that's going to happen.
Okay.
Well, I don't think we want to promise. I mean, I don't think it's going to eliminate congestion, but it will be an improvement. So, I mean, I want you to come back in 2 years and say, you promised there'd be no more congestion, because there will still be some congestion, but the analysis suggests it will be better for exactly the reason they mentioned.
Just speak.
Hi, this is Sue, Peter's wife. You mentioned the road coming off from Stenmark, and if you mentioned something about that previously, I'm sorry, I didn't recall. But is that going to be open eventually? Because that's actually where we live, and we're always, if we need to go west, we always have to go east, and then through the tolls. So I just wanted to know if
it's been temporarily closed. Is what she's saying.
Is that going to be opened again?
Right. I think James or Peter has the date when it's going to open.
I think Caltrans is planning to reopen it February 4th. reopened the Stenmark Drive on ramp to the bridge. After the fire incident, we had to make some repairs, but actually, you know, your idea or your thought of streamlining the toll plaza, they're actually going to keep lane the booths are 1 through 7. Currently 4, 5, 6, and 7 are currently closed, and I think we're planning to keep 5 and 6 closed for now and reopen 7 because 7 serves Stenmark as well as a wide load lane. We're trying to do exactly what you mentioned, is trying to streamline the flow onto the bridge with that. So but February 4th, they're planning to reopen it, depending on what everything else.
All right, thank you very much.
Graham?
Thanks, Lisa. Good evening. First of all, thank you very much for coming. My question is, what level of increase in the traffic over the bridge are you projecting over the next 4 or 5 years? Because surely that's going to be a major impact on any bottlenecks and backups.
Ingrid, do you have an answer? I don't know if we can answer that question for you today. It may be something we have to get back to you.
Yeah.
It would be something that's sort of involved in the work we're doing, but I just don't know that we have that answer. Right
Yeah, we don't have it right now. We can come back and ask our consultant, you know.
Yeah,
Maybe we
because
can work through Lisa to get an answer back to the community on that
Yes.
one. We'll take note of that question.
yes, because this seems to me to be basically the whole critical issue. We can reconfigure all these roads as much as we like, but if it's going to be overwhelmed by the volume of traffic coming through, are we sort of planning for that?
I will say when we do the analysis, for example, when we look at the projects that Ingrid mentioned, we do assume a certain amount of growth in that. Now, we may be right or we may be wrong. You know, it's hard to, we don't have a crystal ball, but we can certainly get back to you with what the assumptions are in that analysis.
Okay, thank you.
Jan?
Yeah, so for 6 months in the first half of 2023, I commuted around between 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock on the Richmond Bridge. And I'm sorry, but what you were saying, I was shocked that it was not a problem with the 7 lanes going to 2 lanes after you got through the toll booth. It was somehow the freeway, what do you call it, on-ramps that were just insane. And I mean, there's the big problem, which you guys, I know, have been talking, I know people from Point Richmond are asking you to look at is the backup and people going around, which you can see people going from Richmond Parkway around trying to get onto Cottage or whatever and backing up all the little streets in Point Richmond. But somehow the on-ramps, I don't know whether it's having the merging lights or whatever, are so out of control. And the on-ramp coming from Canal, which is supposed to be 1 lane, but with a really big shoulder, it is so frustrating because, you're on there trying to get on. There must be 100 cars jamming in front of you illegally because there's no control. It's kind of like the Wild West out there every morning. Well, at Mondays and Fridays, also when you're looking at the data, Mondays and Fridays, the traffic is just so noticeably less. It's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday where it's crazy. But I know it's funny. I can't see that, once you went through the toll plaza, it was remarkably smooth how 7 lanes compressed into 2. That was not the problem. It's the on-ramps that are so crazy and then the way people are snaking through the side roads in Point Richmond. But that one, the on-ramp from Canal, it's just like, there is like, you can see 100 cars doing illegal driving on the shoulders, get in front of everybody, making you at a dead standstill. Once you're on 580, it's fine. In fact, I found it was almost easier and certainly less frustrating if I would go a couple of miles south and get on, at Marina Bay or something, because the traffic moving on 580 wasn't so bad. Anyway, that's just my comments.
And I just to piggyback, Jan, you also had a couple comments since you're up right now in the chat. She had some comments. I know you guys were gonna have the morning between 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. when you do that analysis. I don't know, according to Jan, that problem time is really 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. So
After 9 a.m., it's really calm. Even 8:30, it's like that. It's really jammed into a small couple of hours. And I don't want the data diluted because you're making such a big, at 5 o'clock, it's great, 5:30, it's great. 6:30, starts getting,
I think that's a comment we can take back to the evaluation team at UC Berkeley and see. I mean, I think, yeah, we can certainly talk to them about that observation. I think it's a valid point, and we'll see what can be done.
And then I think her second one, which I also think is valid, was 2022 still had significantly lower traffic. And so where are you actually, so March of 2020 to when is your COVID window? And I think that's what the community, whatever you guys decide to drop that at, I think the community in the report would want to see what drove that time frame.
Right.
Okay, Jesse, you had a comment. You couldn't figure out how to raise your hand. Do you have a question? You're on mute, Jesse. Oh, hold on, Jesse. Can you unmute? I can get you. Hold on.
I would even say 6:30 to 8:30.
I'm asking you to unmute, but for some reason, it's not letting me unmute.
There we go.
Oh, there she
I
goes.
had to go, I had to find, I was trying to press it. I had to go find it in the menu. So I want to say two things. I don't know how you're going to construct this study. I hope you will go to Cottage Avenue and talk to the drivers sitting in gridlock. That's what I did with some other people a few years ago, and it was very instructive. You say, we don't know where they're coming from. I can tell you where they're coming from. They're coming from Starbucks over on Marina Bay, and they're coming from North and East Richmond, and they're coming from all over the place. And when I asked them how they ended up on Cottage Avenue, they said what we know. They said Google and Waze told them to go this way. I hope you're aware that back then, the fire chief, the mayor, and a whole lot of other people actually tried to talk to Google, who also owns Waze, and get them to fix their programming so we're no longer in a shadow. We're in a shadow where they just can't see what's happening. So they keep sending people to the point. And so those are my comments. I hope you'll actually get out there and talk to people, or whoever path or whoever's doing this will. And I hope you understand the frustrating history we've had with Google about this. That's it.
Thank you, Jesse. James?
I'm a resident of one of the small residential streets that wasn't accounted for in that slideshow. But anyway, I'm speaking pretty much, I hope, for Cottage Avenue residents, West Richmond Avenue residents, Santa Fe Avenue residents, and Martina Avenue residents. You can take anything you want off of Google and Waze, but once a motorist sees this route, they're going to keep using it. They don't need to be directed here. So the only solution I see is put an articulating traffic barrier on the median on Castro Street between East Standard and Tewksbury that will corral all the traffic eastbound on Tewksbury and get them out of our neighborhood. If the police can't be there to monitor all the time, and this would actually be a good investment, because it's not just sometimes a weekday problem. If there's a wreck on the weekend or something, I know we get trapped. I've come home and my house is full of exhaust fumes. So I can just see engineering telling us how they can't put this barrier in, but I know they can. I think Lisa understands what I'm getting at, the design.
Yeah.
That'd be the bottom line. You come down Cottage, you come through Martina, you go make an illegal U-turn on West Richmond. Guess what? You are not going northbound on Castro. You're gonna have to turn right, go all the way down to Canal, and hopefully you get fired. So I don't care. I'm just tired of this crap in this neighborhood. And I know one participant on this, in this meeting, she lives right where Martina Street and Cottage meet. So she's completely trapped. You know, at least I have a chance if I get out of my driveway and park in front of the house, I can leave. But she can't get to her house or from her house. Anyway, that's all I have for now.
Thank you, James. And James went on the tour with Philip with John from WICTAC. So thank you very much for taking the time and sharing your experience. And you know, all of that is extremely valuable in sharing our lived experience and the impacts on us. So, and Norma, Cordell, you have your hand raised.
Yes, can you hear me, Lisa?
Yes.
Yeah, so I apologize for coming on late. So, because I wanted to share my my opinions on this on traffic because I come along because I get a lot of feedback from some of the businesses along the corridor, and they have the same issues. It's like every time when they get down on Richmond Parkway, and it's like traffic would be backed up, and I was like, oh great, and I said this is unreal because it's like just as soon as when people get along when they hit west cutting and south west South Girard and cutting, it's like it's horrible. Traffic is always an issue. So what I'm thinking is that like that these lanes is like I'm just frustrated because I kind of agree with what the speakers, what the person just said. People can't even like get out. They can't even get they can't even get along. They can't even get to San Rafael Bridge without like getting stuck in traffic. And so I'm just hoping that whatever solutions they come up with is like hopefully that they need to get it done as soon as possible because it's like it is horrendous, especially like in the morning time. Oh, that's the worst. So I just wanted to share my 2 cents and my 3 cents. That's it.
Thank you, Cordell. And Norma, did you want to share anything? I know you had indicated that Google, at least Google, so I'm assuming Waze, has updated their maps to not include these street maps, the streets in Point Richmond. Did you have any other further comments you wanted to make? She's still on? Did she leave? She had some comments in the chat. She may have dropped off. I don't see her on here anymore. So I know she did make a comment, and it looks like somebody else in the chat, Jan, had commented that Waze has updated their maps. I don't know about Apple Maps, and I don't know if you guys collectively as the agencies, if you have the ability to pressure Apple, Google to get them to stop shunting people off. I know the community certainly doesn't have as much, but it sounds like some progress has been made. I don't know if you guys, if somebody from MTC or WIC, well, John doesn't have his voice.
I don't think Congress has that kind of push.
I think that was well said. I mean, Hisham, you look like you maybe want to comment on this. I know a number of communities have tried to take this on, and it has been a hard slog. And I think things may be a little better than they used to be from what I hear, but I don't have direct experience. Hisham, do you have?
Well, yeah, apparently whatever they're doing, it's not helping the situation. We still have backups on Richmond streets, but the idea of the study is to make these shortcuts more difficult to take and consume more time. I mean, that's really the only way to divert people off local streets. If you block them at a traffic signal and they have to sit and wait for a couple minutes, then they'll probably never use that road again. If it doesn't improve their travel time, then they will not take that shortcut. So that's really the whole purpose of doing the study, to see what measures we could put in place to make it basically more difficult to take these shortcuts or more time consuming. So less people do it in the future.
Yeah, and I don't know, Patrick, not Patrick, Robert Armio, I think you're still on the call. Are you all still on there, Robert? I'm looking around oh, there you are, Robert. Do you know, Robert, are you guys going to be looking at, I know there is some signage, but is part of this study also going to look at signage and maybe fines or something? Because like James just sent some pictures in last week again where tanker trucks or large trucks that are not supposed to be on some of these streets are on them. And that's even a further impediment to fire and police to getting in there. And the other thing, I don't know if this has been brought to your guys' attention, anybody on this call, but when that distribution center opens up at Cutting and Canal, there's going to be a lot of truck traffic. And there's the Chef Warehouse. There's another opening up in that adjacent building. So there is going to be significant truck traffic coming off of Cutting to get onto the freeway and onto the parkway. And any congestion on this bridge, it's going to impact the canal traffic even worse. And then with trains, even worse. So Caesar, this is another reason why we still have to readdress the bike lane on that north side of Cutting, because it's a huge problem for queuing now. So it's something that's going to contribute further. And I didn't even know if MTC and CCTA were aware of that soon to be increased truck traffic on Cutting going on to Canal. Robert, do you know if that was part of that discussion with for the scope of work? I can't hear you, Robert. I don't know if it doesn't look like you're muted, but I can't hear you.
Yeah, I can tell you. I think the scope of work was looking at existing traffic patterns and not future developments in the area. But yeah, that's something I can discuss with the consultant.
Yeah, that's just, that whole intersection is going to be a huge nightmare here shortly when they both open.
Can you hear me now, Lisa?
Yes, thank you, Robert.
I had to forced me to upgrade to the new software, and it redid all my settings. So I apologize for that. So yeah, as Hisham had mentioned, we are working with a consultant and we understand that there's going to be some nuance to the kind of solutions that could be employed, to make it, unappealing and unattractive for cut through traffic. But, we kind of want it to be like a one-way valve, where we want traffic to go in certain directions and we don't want to disincentivize that, but in other directions, we do want it to be disincentivized, namely, traffic that's headed back through the neighborhood. So we were tossing back and forth some ideas with the consultant. We can certainly, our consultant's planning on using a big data package. It's called Streetlight Data. City uses that to help with some of our traffic analysis. But we'll certainly mention the new Prologis development and the truck traffic that's generated from that. Having worked with that particular developer before, I know they have a lot of data on their truck trips. So I'm sure we can get that kind of data from them fairly easily. So
Great.
Hopefully that helps with your question.
Yeah, and I think just the signs, like I know there are some signs, and James can speak to this too, like no right turn, they just ignore the sign, or these trucks aren't allowed on this street, and they're just completely ignoring them. And so as part of that, I know sometimes illegal dumping, when you slap on the, it's $1,000 fine if they're caught. And maybe Sergeant Melgoza can speak to this too, is I know that this year they're trying to restaff the traffic unit. And so I don't know if there might be a plan once you do get some staff on the traffic unit to come out here, especially if there's a big bridge incident, to help the community and get the people that are illegally turning and going on streets they're not supposed to. I think if the word gets out that they're going to start getting ticketed, that could also help.
Yeah, if you want to speak on it briefly, I can. Thanks to Councilmember Zepeda, we've actually been able to increase our staffing quite a bit here in the last couple of months. And the plan is hopefully by June, July, I'll be able to have all of my traffic officers brought back full time from the patrol teams, focusing strictly on traffic enforcement. And we actually do have one specific officer who focuses strictly on commercial traffic, like big rigs and things of that nature, being overweight, being on streets they shouldn't be on, things of that nature. So with, hopefully everything works out the way we plan it. And then we'll also have all of our motors and we can focus on these type of areas significantly in the morning during those times.
Is there a way, like how does RPD, I'm just curious, if there's a bridge incident and there's just a major backup because of that incident, how does RPD get promptly notified on that? And like, what is your ability to even quickly perhaps reroute a traffic person to go over there? I don't even know what's feasible.
So it really depends if CHP notifies us. A lot of the time they notify our dispatch, and they may just put a note on our computers that kind of shows up as a call for service, but more of like info detail. Like, hey, there's a major accident on the bridge, or stalled car or something. Depending on the level of collision, we will get notified either on the radio or through a message in our MDCs. And it just really depends on what we can do at that time, because yeah, I mean, everybody's affected by it, so it's hard to punish people for something they didn't necessarily do. But we do try and send officers down there as well. But at the same time, if we get them caught up in traffic that hurts the rest of the city, our response time to the rest of the city for a traffic situation.
Okay.
Not sure if that really helped that much, but
Yeah, I just think the community is desperate for, answers to help.
yeah. And we're desperate, honestly, to start getting out there and getting back to enforcing traffic and things like that. The city definitely needs it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're a little over. So with that, is there any other questions from the community?
Yes, Terry.
Hi, Terry. Can you?
Can you?
Yep, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? I would love to see the bikeway converted into a part-time lane during the morning commute. This would fix the congestion problem and of the people who are trying from Point Richmond to get onto the bridge. I sat in traffic for 40 minutes in the morning commute, and I assume that that's in fact not as bad as some people have seen just to get on the bridge. And if we reduce the congestion by using a part-time lane, we will also solve the problem of people in the neighborhoods who have cars stopping in front of their houses and doing illegal traffic maneuvers. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. And Councilmember Zepeda.
Thank you, Lisa. And I'm lower my hand. I also see Charmaine has her hand up. But really quickly, Robert, also we have the new FedEx in North Richmond, the new FedEx site. So that's a bunch of new trucks as well that are going to have more vehicles and heavy vehicles coming into 580. But what I wanted to do, and I don't, not to put my MTC colleagues on the spot, but we'll love to partner on trying to get more of that RM3 funding on the Richmond side. RM3 is a region of Measure 3, and currently the Marin side has a couple $1 million more. But I'm hoping that as you hear the concerns from the people that live right next to the bridge, which is Point Richmond, the Santa Fe Neighborhood Council, they are a lot more impacted than the individuals who live farther away from the bridge on the Marin side. And I know the needs are great everywhere. Money is needed in every single direction. I just finished another budget call and there's money needed. So hopefully we could start printing it somewhere. But short of that, if there's anything that we can do to try to get a couple $1 million more into the Richmond side, because I believe that if we're looking at equity, the equity piece, Richmond needs it because of the community that we have, and they're so close to the bridge there. And as you hear, so many issues. So I would appreciate any advocacy and any partnership, anything that I can do to help to try to move some of that money back into Richmond. I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you need a petition or a letter from the PRNC, anything that helps on that advocacy, just let Caesar and Philip know, and we can help get the word out to the PRNC community and to Santa Fe as well. Charmaine? You're muted, Charmaine.
So I appreciate Council Member Zepeda speaking, because we always need your help. Thank you for coming. And I appreciate RPD coming. But my question is really, how much is the city of Richmond involved in any of this? I appreciate all these agencies coming and they're sharing their data and they're analyzing what's needed, and they have future projects in mind. They're considering all the angles, but I don't see representatives from City of Richmond, and I'm except for Councilman Zepeda and RPD. So I appreciate you coming, but I want to know, does the City of Richmond really understand what we're going through? And do they have any plans to help with this issue?
So Robert Armijo, I believe your title is the Deputy Director of Public Works, and he is on the call and he has been part of the working group. So Robert, do you want to comment?
Great.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, I'm just concerned about City of Richmond involvement. I didn't realize that you were with City of Richmond, so thank you for coming. And I just want to make sure that City of Richmond understands our issues and can be also involved in this somehow with the other agencies in analyzing the solutions for what we can do. So thank you for coming.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. We are partnering with the CCTA and the MTC on this project, and as we were kind of discussing and mentioning before, one thing that we're doing a lot of collaboration with. Oh, and I also forgot to mention the WIC tax. So I know John is on the phone and he's having he's lost his voice, but in any event, we are partnering with our transportation agencies. We are trying to work collaboratively on some solutions, and like we mentioned before, we want to look. We are partnering on a study where we can look at what we can do about mitigating the impacts of congestion on the main line, so that people aren't using Richmond streets to relieve any traffic congestion. So we kind of went into a little bit of detail. It might have gotten a little technical there, but so I apologize for that. But we're definitely looking at that, and we're hoping in the next several months that we can come up with some solutions collaboratively with our partners and see what can be done to kind of keep the traffic off of Richmond streets as much as possible.
Thank you, Robert. Charmaine, did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Kate, last question.
Thank you. I am really kind of stunned, actually. There was a previous person who made the mention of, let's just open the bike lane for traffic to mitigate our issues and the general traffic of trying to get over to Marin. in the morning. I don't know if this is the time and place, but it seems like this is an obvious discussion to have. I don't know with whom. It really is it's the alligator in the swamp. It is the issue. So is anyone having this discussion? Thank you.
Lisa, do you want to field that?
Sure, I can respond. So, I mean, so yes, this suggestion has been made, that, to look at opening the shoulder to traffic, either on a full-time or a part-time basis. At the November meeting, where I presented those the results of the path analysis, the chair of our data oversight committee directed staff to return early this year with a scope, schedule, and budget to study whether we could use that shoulder as a part-time HOV lane. So we'll be going back to the board in March with the scope, schedule, and budget, and then the board may direct us to do that study. So, I think there are, this is absolutely something that's part of the discussion.
A study for March that will start in March that goes, what's the end?
So in March, we will go to the board and tell them what it would take to do the study. We won't be able to start the study in March. They will need to give us, they'll need to say, yes, we want you to do it. Here's the money, go do it. So that's, we'll have some more information on that in about a month or so about what that looks like.
Good. So we can hear from whom and where. How would that happen to us?
Well, I think, we can make sure working with John and Lisa to, get the information that we'll be taking to our board in March, but, back to the community. But, again, in March, this will be, what we'll take would be staff's concept for what could be done. And then the board will need to give us, direction. Right. So, but we can sort of keep that line of communication open. So you're well informed about what we're going to be doing.
Thank you.
Be happy to do that. Sure.
Okay, so it sounds like maybe the time frame for when you guys might be able to come back and present on everything we kind of discussed tonight, sometime in the summer. Is that what you guys are thinking? John? Yeah. Okay. Sometime in the summer. So we'll have everybody come back. That will be after they get the fear and peer, I'm saying it right, fair and peers analysis for this more immediate. And then the study will get published in the summer of 2024, and more data will actually be able to be released to the public at that point in time. And so it would be a good timely discussion for people to come back and present to the Prnc. So we will aim for that in the summer. And with that, I want to thank everybody from MTC, WICTAC, CCTA, Robert from Public Works, Sergeant Melgosa from RPD, and I hope I didn't leave anybody else out. But thank you so very, very much, everybody, for joining tonight. And John, I hope you feel better soon. Thank you. Okay, so now, and we're a little late, but I think this was such an important discussion that the board really wanted to have this opportunity for the community to hear what was going on, what we're planning, and for you guys to get your comments and your questions out there to help facilitate what we're going forward with. So we're going to start with the community briefs. So the first one up is Charmaine with Richmond CERT.
We have really good news. We finally have a manager of emergency operations for the city of Richmond. His name is Richard Diaz, and he has a great background. And I've met him on a couple Zoom calls, and he's definitely supporting CERT. So soon we will be able to start our classes again. That's my update.
Hey, that's great news. Thank you, Charmaine. Okay, Karen, she was on earlier. Is she still on, Karen?
Here, yeah. There's nothing to report regarding the Point Richmond Business Association.
Okay, thank you. Bonnie Joe, is she on for the Point
Sure,
Richmond?
yes, I am. I am. I wanted to say that the History Association would like to include in our newsletter a community calendar. So I would like to encourage and urge not-for-profit organizations to send their events, their upcoming events, to Gary Shows, so he can include those in the newsletter. Now, I just got something from the Red Oak Victory Ship today that we can include in the next newsletter, having to do with their film series and their pancake breakfast. So it's things like that, events that anybody is planning that we would like to include in the newsletter, get the information out a little bit more. That's it.
Great, thank you, Bonnie Joe. That sounds like an awesome addition to your newsletter.
The neighborhood council, that neighborhood council should take advantage of that too.
Yes, yes. I know we see those emails. We do need to do that. Okay, Margie for the Arts of Point Richmond. I know she's still on there. I don't know if she's busy right now. Margie, are you there? I can come back to you. Okay, let's come back to Margie. Kate, what's up with the magic lantern? She's still on?
Yeah, she's still muted.
Okay.
Okay.
There she
First,
is.
finding the mouse and then the mute button. There you go. Okay, yes, thank you. Magic Lantern is offering in February 10th, the second Saturday. Magic Lantern will be showing a film called The Guilty. It's a crime thriller drama. If you like really intense films, this is your time to shine with Magic Lantern. We're not sure how we get out to the neighborhood. I have 500-600 people on my email list, and it's kind of a stumble of, do you know if you know someone who will give you a referral to get on to Magic Lanterns? So I'm not sure how I could do that, but I think I would be interested to talk to Bonnie Joe about who Gary Shows is. I don't have an email, but maybe for Bonnie, if you're on the newsletter, I can send something to you.
You can send it to me. You could get a newsletter and look at it, and all the information is right there in the newsletter.
You're right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
Excellent. Thank you, Kate. Okay, Margie, I see you're back for Arts of Point Richmond.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Spring Fling is coming up, and the Arts of Point Richmond is not co-hosting it this year, but they are going to participate. It's March 23rd downtown. Hope everybody can come. And we're allowing people to have, we've got another 5 more booths we can allow to do that. Let's see, Arts of Point Richmond also has Take It Outdoors now. So they've just had their new requests for banners. So we'll have a whole new set of banners coming out this year. And just had an opening at Laura's Fine Food, put up another, I think about 40 different pieces of art. So if you get over there for lunch or dinner, you can see the arts there. A couple things going on in town. Also, this is not quite Arts of Point Richmond, but Kelly from the Mom and Pop store has decided to start something called Second Saturday. And so she's pulled together some local people to open up their stores and offer discounts and all. So you'll see that on the second Saturday of each month.
Excellent. Lots going on. Caesar, are you still there? Let's see. I know he's still on, but I don't know if he's at his computer.
I am.
Oh,
What's up?
awesome. Can you maybe give a little quick update on the program and the arts program in the city council chambers that you brought to life?
Yeah, so if we have any artists, what we are doing as a trial basis for this year, I brought forward an agenda item where the city council chamber walls now have art. Before they were all just empty. And now we're gonna have art that's gonna be changed out every quarter. The first quarter had to be done a little bit quickly, so we weren't really able to do a big call out for the artist. But for the second quarter, we will be doing a big call out. So if you're an artist and you want your art to be on the city council chamber walls, please stay tuned for more information that will be put out there. And then it will be for the second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter of the year. So we would love to have more and more local artists and Richmond art be put up on our walls.
Excellent. Thank you, Caesar. I didn't know how many people here knew about that. So I wanted to help spread the word as we were talking about arts. So, okay. And Layla had to leave early, so she won't be she said there was no updates for tonight. But she had to leave early and sign off for her kid care. HOA, an update in the HOAs in Brickyard Cove. I don't know if Charmaine has anything. I know we had an LUDRC meeting on 2 nights ago. It was a great opportunity to give some feedback to Marcia Valet, who's dealing with the landscaping for the Ferry Point sewer lift pump station that they're redoing at the corner of Dornan Drive and Brickyard Cove Road. And the community provided a lot of great feedback for Marcia, and she was meeting with the city, and she's going to be coming back for the February 28th Prnc meeting. That will be our main speaker, and she's going to be presenting some options for the community to address that intersection and the lift station pump for the community to give feedback on that. And then she will come back again, most likely in March. That's the plans that we keep forward momentum on it. So that's my only update from the community. Charmaine?
Yeah, I have the summary. If you'd like, I can just read the summary. Yes, okay.
You're up for LUDRC next anyway, so.
Yeah, so representing LUDRC, I don't have anything on Keller Beach right now, but I do have something on the Ferry Point pump station. So here's the summary of issues. We were trying to talk about landscaping, but we never got that far because there's too many other issues there. If you haven't been at the corner of Brickyard Cove Road and Dornan Drive, go there and see a troubled intersection. And so that's what we talked about. So there's a generator, it's a number of feet above the wall and it can't be hidden. It just looks very odd. We would like to see how much money is left so that we can do some proper landscaping. Safety is a big issue for track. There needs to be appropriate buffer between the road and the Bay Trail. There doesn't seem to be any space. The Bay Trail's on the south side. It probably should go onto the north side. There has been sign damage, paving damage. The turn in the road needs to be wider. A big truck cannot safely turn. They have to back up and go forward, and it's very narrow. If you're a car there and a big truck's coming, you try to get out of the area, get out of the way. It's really small. There's puddling on the pavement when it rains. There are 2 gates when probably they just need 1 into their pump station. The outside should be a material that's not prone to graffiti, or at least graffiti could be cleaned off. There should not be an open area. They're showing an open area where we might have illegal parking or illegal dumping, which sometimes happens there. We want to get rid of that. We should be working with East Bay Regional Parks, which I still didn't hear that anybody from the city is, and yet we're right in their territory. The lighting needs to be looked at. There's some really bright lights that blind drivers in the night right now. And we questioned whether during future maintenance, there's even enough room for 1 or 2 trucks to get into the pump station without blocking the whole road. So it just it's not working as it is. And we're hoping that the city will listen or it's too late and they've had it finished and then we have to like redo because it's bad. The intersection's really bad. So we had a really nice meeting. We had a lot of people from the community showing up, and that's a summary. And Marcia will take this information to the city, try to get some answers. Ultimately, we're looking at landscaping around the pump station so we can make it look nicer.
That was an excellent summary, Charmaine. Thank you. And I know that Councilmember Zepeda is trying to help get us a more timely feedback on how much money is left in the contingency fund. So I know Councilmember Zepeda is working on that and trying to get that for us. So because that impacts everything that can conceivably be done in the near future on that project. So, and there's no updates on the Keller Beach. Did I hear you correctly? Okay. So moving on, we're with Matt.
Hold it.
Oh, sorry, Graham.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm concerned that the LUDRC, who sort of wanted to take over the lead role on the Keller Beach, hasn't got anything to say. But Caesar, any word from you? You were going to try and follow up on several things from the from the last meeting, from the last PRNC meeting about what was happening.
Caesar, oh, there
Grant,
it is.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat your question again? I'm sorry.
Yes. Well, Caesar, at our last meeting, you were going to try and follow up with the city and with the Works Department as to what the status was concerning the original proposal, as to whether Coastland had been paid or not, or whether the final report had been lodged. I know, and I very much appreciate the fact that you managed to get it onto the last council meeting in December, formal note going to the Works Department. But has there been any feedback? Has there been any action?
Nothing from the city council meeting. So as of right now, I can tell you there's not going to be any work done until the staff does what the agenda item that I got approved mentioned. So they have to go get a peer review for Coastland to make sure that what Coastland found or not found is valid before they do anything else, before they move forward. So right now, staff has not done any of that because they don't, that's, for them, that's a project that's years still to come. So they haven't moved it forward on the agenda yet, but I'll try to get an update to see when they're gonna go and get the peer review from Coastland. But as of right now, you can be assured that there's not gonna be anything going on in terms of a project happening immediately in that area without first going to Coastland or before getting a peer review from Coastland and getting a second opinion. And then looking at
okay. Now, how can we make sure that the LUDRC is involved in this, or this particular small meeting that we had set up? How can we make sure that they're involved?
I'll make sure that whenever I call a meeting with the city that we get you guys involved. Now that we're out of the holidays, I'll put some more pressure on the city staff to get us a meeting with the community as they were supposed to last year.
Oh,
and I'll
good.
make the meeting, the smaller group and the LUDRC are involved.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks, Caesar.
Thank you, Graham. Thank you, Caesar. Okay, Maskers Playhouse. I don't see Francis, but hopefully I'm just not.
Hi, I can offer a brief update.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, the 2024 season will open this Friday night with a new play, Second Samuel, and that'll be at 8 o'clock. So it'll be a wonderful comedy and the opening of what should be a great season.
Yay. Thank you, Jim. I think everybody can use some good laughter right now. So.
And I have the report for the RNCC too.
Great. Thank you, Cordell. Go ahead.
So and I'm gonna try to keep this short because because the traffic discussion kind of took a little longer. So here's my summary from the meeting. So at this month's meeting, we had a pretty decent turnout. So Harchester Village, provided refreshments. They had the little pinwheel sandwiches, delicious. So that's the food part. But our featured speakers, we had Police Chief Bisa French, and she provided an update on what's going on with the police department. So their plan is there was a report, there was a mention about retention of officers. So hopefully she will provide more of a summary on that one. So we are in the process of having some new officers come on board. So that's part of it. And then let's see what else. The other part of it was so old business. The board decided to like allow the presentations to go first, and like because normally in the past they always be like at the end, and I said they need to be like the Jeffersons. They need to move them up. That was a good one. So that's one. And then under new business, I had commended the RNCC board for a fabulous Christmas party that we had last month, and our very own Karen Buchanan, she provided some jokes for everyone, and we was all in stitches. So so that was pretty fun. So and then our next meeting is going to be February the 12th, which is 2 days before Valentine's Day at 7 p.m. in the chambers. And then let's see. Oh yes. And I'm still working on again inviting Dr. Hurst or someone from the district to come in the spring. So I'm still working on that one. So that's my summary from the RNCC, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Cordell. And I think that was the first hybrid in-person / Zoom meeting for the RNCC, right?
Correct, and I participated remotely.
Yeah. So just to let everybody know, if you do ever want to join the RNCC meetings, you can do it both in person in city council chambers or via Zoom. So.
And they always have refreshments, like at 6:30. So, but you can't eat in the chambers though. So.
Okay. And the RNCC, and just by virtue, all neighborhood councils are being honored by the NAACP this year, the Richmond chapter.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about that, Cordell?
Sure. It's going to be on this Saturday evening on February the 3rd at the auditorium, and tickets are only $100 a pop. So it's either black tie or Mardi Gras style. So let's see. And there was the other thing too, I forgot to mention it before, that the dues is only $40 per neighborhood council. I'm like, I forgot about that. So hopefully I will email Philip to see if he can make out the check to send to the RNCC. I forgot to mention that part.
Great, thank you. I think Margie may have already turned it in for this year, so I think we were on top of that. That's what that's what helped pays for all of our quarterly newsletters. The city prints those for us, and then we mail them. And that $40 membership for each neighborhood council goes towards that. So, okay, I didn't see Gary Hurlman on. Has anybody seen him? Are you there, Gary? I just didn't see you. Yeah. Okay, he's not here tonight. So let's go to Graham for the USS Red Oak Victory Ship.
Yes, thanks, Lisa. Yes, we've put together our Winter Spring movie festival, and it's focused on Humphrey Bogart fighting the Axis powers. And we've got 5 great movies to show you. On the 15th of February, it's the Sahara movie, Bogey Fighting in the Sands, filmed in 1943. On the 21st of March, we have Across the Pacific, and that's and then on the 18th of April, we have Action in the North Atlantic. And then on the 16th of May, we have that wonderful movie, To Have and Have Not, featuring Lauren Bacall draped over a piano, singing Hoagie Carmichael songs. And then, of course, on the 20th of June, we have our regular favorite, Casablanca. So please do come down and join us. They are great movies, and the Red Oak Victory is a great setting for them.
Graham,
We
I'm
do
coming.
ask, sorry, we do ask for $10 a head, but if you can't raise that, well, still come. And Cordell, I think you have a question.
Yes, I'm gonna be at the I'm gonna be at the movie night on the 15th. So
Good. Well, hopefully we'll see you and about 25 other people there.
Yeah.
Of course.
Caesar, why don't you turn up and bring down all the city council? Get them to know what the Red Oak victory is all about.
I think he probably heard you. He might just be eating.
He doesn't want to say anything.
I think he's probably trying to get some dinner.
Yeah, that's right.
And Jesse's got her hand up
And
too.
Jesse's got a question after Caesar. Caesar,
Is
did
it
you
okay
hear
to-
Graham's comment?
Yes, I try to be there, Graham.
Good, thank you.
Okay, Jesse.
I have a question for Cordell.
Jesse?
Cordell, is
Yes.
that group that is like all the neighborhood watches send a representative, is that meeting still going on, or has that?
Yes, Jesse. They reopen. They're doing it hybrid style, so you can either come in person or participate on Zoom.
What is that meeting called, and how can I get on the list? I'm getting asked by neighbors about if Neighborhood Watch is going to get going again. And I got a letter from one of the crime specialists, Dana, somebody maybe, that, saying, just implying that it's kind of picking up again, but I don't even remember what that meeting's called.
So the meeting so the group is called the RNCC, Richmond Neighborhood Coordinating Council.
No, it isn't.
Oh no. Oh, it's crime. It's oh shoot, I just said it too. Crime prevention. They're gonna have a block captain training in late February.
Okay, that's good to know.
So I should get more information from Michelle Milam somewhere around February.
Okay, and it's still, that meeting is still meeting once a month, and it's hybrid?
They meet the last Wednesday of the month, so at 4:00.
Really? Over there in that building by that park, sort of up cutting somewhere?
No, at which one are you talking about, like for crime prevention or the
Yeah,
RNCC?
crime prevention. It was in some.
Oh no, it's the crime prevention. We meet on Zoom.
Okay. When next time I see you at Kaleidoscope, I need to get this information, but let's not tie up
sure.
this meeting anymore. Okay.
Okay, I was like, because I'm like, okay, I'll send you an email later.
Okay, great.
Okay, Diane, Women's Side.
Yes, thank you. Yesterday, there were 5 of us members weeding in the map garden and around the 4 small trees next to Park Place. And Margie was so great. She donated 2 LED light fixtures that she attached them to the wooden trellis above the map. So there's going to be light coming down in that area, which thank you, Margie, for doing that. Our first meeting for 2024 is actually this coming Tuesday, February the 6th at the Methodist Church, 11:30 brown bag lunch. And it's followed by a guest speaker, Sean Dunning, will be talking about homelessness. And we will have our business meeting and end with a Valentine exchange. And I just want to wish everyone an early happy Valentine's.
Oh, well, thank you. Happy Valentine's back.
Thank you.
Peter, what's up with ping pong? We're gonna change the name to ping pong next agenda, but what's
Yes, we will. Oops. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So we had 8 people at the last Monday's ping pong at the Point San Pablo Yacht Club on Cutting. And the previous Monday we had 8 people. And Mindy Pines she's been a pretty regular attender, and she's quite a ping pong player. She's really really somebody to be reckoned with. And the other folks are they're learning, but everybody has fun. We have so many people now. We only have 2 tables, so we have so many people who are mostly playing doubles. Oh, sorry, my parrot is chiming in here. But anyway, we mostly play doubles, which everybody really enjoys. It took me a while to get them to play it because it seems confusing, but it's kind of an equalizer, and doesn't matter if you're any good or really bad. Doubles, everybody has fun. So I don't know. I've been asked to have more than one day. I don't know if I can take that myself, but anyway, if you have any inclination, you need a little exercise, or you just want to socialize, come on by.
What time is it?
It is from 5 o'clock to whenever you want to leave. We've had people sit around at the bar till 9 o'clock talking about local politics, and you never know what they're going to talk about. And
Drinks are cheap.
drinks are very cheap, yes. Actually, like Mindy and I, we basically just drink cranberry juice and soda water. We have a couple people that drink let's see. We have one new lady that shows up that likes Guinness. The others seem to like white wine. So,
Well, I'm glad it starts at 5 because I have an engagement with Fran Smith and some other people of retirement age and beyond. We played poker earlier in the day, and Fran Smith takes all our money. She's unbelievably good at poker.
well, you won't need much money if you come to this. The games are free. It's the drinking that costs a little bit of money.
Okay.
That's not much.
Well, I'll get Fran to buy me a drink out of her poker winnings.
Okay. And and she doesn't have to play. She can just come and sit and watch. We have lots of chairs, nice view of a canal. And Mindy and I are like the youngest players, so that gives you an idea of.
Oh, good. That's good to know.
So.
Anna, do you have a question?
No, I just wanted to piggyback on what Peter said, because we went there for our party a while ago, and I just wanted to say it really is lovely for anybody considering it, even if you don't play ping pong. It's such a nice location, tables, beautiful fireplace, nice cocktails. Even if you just go to socialize, it was very lovely, and a little gem over there that I don't think a lot of people know about.
Good to know.
Yeah, we have a couple of people that just show up and play 1 or 2 games, and they spend the rest of the night sitting talking to each other. So
yeah, it's a fun little place, and like Point Richmond and Brickyard Cove, it's another hidden little gem. So
yeah, Lisa and I and who was it from Vernon? Yeah, we did a candidates night discussion there during COVID, I think.
Yeah, I've gone there a few times. It's a great little place, and if it's just this group event, you can have it all to yourselves and have a drink and sit by a fire. Great view.
And actually, the yacht club is really happy that we're doing this, because nobody used to be there on Mondays, and now, the yacht club people will come by because there are folks in the club, and so they just enjoy it that it's being used.
Cordell.
Yes, I got some public forum. If we're up to it.
We've got one more person. Hold on, James or Rosie the Riveter.
Don't forget Rosie the Riveter. Yeah, we've got.
That's right.
We're getting more and more presentations and talks. Fridays are Rosie Fridays are at 10:30 to 11, where we have a real Rosie. We have a new one who has shown up, and she's very good. And then in the afternoon, 2 to 3:30 every Friday, we have people come in and talk about Japanese relocation and the Japanese community in World War II. Then we have a whole series of interesting lectures coming up. I'm giving one on the 8th on the GI Bill, Servicemen's Readjustment Act, and the impact on post-war America. Then we have a wonderful treat, Steve Guilford, coming from Petaluma, who has written the basic book on Henry Kaiser. He's going to be talking about Kaiser. And then Tom Metcalf, retired professor from UC Berkeley, going to be talking about immigration in World War II. And then finally, I have been going to be giving one on the 22nd. I'm not sure what it's going to be on, but it could be on what I've been working on gays, lesbians, and drag shows in World War II. But I've yet to put the final period at the end of that sentence, so we'll see. But anyway, there are a number of wonderful things happening in February at Rosie the Riveter.
Wow, that's a great update.
Jim, what was the date of the last presentation? You haven't finalized yet for the gays and lesbians and
That's the 22nd.
The 22?
22nd of February.
Thank you.
And all my presentations are at 2:30 in the afternoon. And I love people to come and ask questions and make comments. It's a treat for me when that happens.
Great. Okay, so that was lots of wonderful updates from the community. We have so much going on in our community that
We do.
great
There is
place.
no excuse for boredom in Point Richmond. None.
There isn't, and it's just wonderful to have everybody give these updates and keep people engaged, young and old, new and
Yep.
Live here a long time. So, so now we're on to public forum and introductions. If there's any new residents or businesses, so Cordell.
Yes, and speaking of a treat, I have a treat for the PRNC. So I was in a Zoom call about a week and a half ago, and there's an opportunity for some funds like the ECIA Environmental Community Investment Agreement from the city, and I talked to LaShonda White, and she says that the neighborhood councils can apply for these grants, and I think, and if I recall correctly, there's a certain amount of money, in the pot, like around 100 grand. So, and the deadline is February the 9th, at 11:59 p.m. So hopefully that PRNC can apply for this grant and figure out what can be used for, like projects, and she says that this money cannot be used for, like, furniture, cell phones, that type of thing. So those are no-nos. So that's one. And then the second announcement is a future agenda topic. So I wrote it down. So tentatively, this is going to be like for April. So here it is. So number one, to invite Bisa French to come and talk to us about some what the plans are for the police department. And number two is I'm still working to get trying to get a hold of to Dr. Hurst to see if he wants to come for the April meeting to talk to us about what the district has plans, regarding, like, for safety, because I know some of the parents at Washington Elementary has had some concerns, like people be like speeding, like during like the daytime. So I'm working on to see if we can get Dr. Hurst or someone from the district to come and talk to us about the plans. So I'm still working on that. So I've always CC Philip in the email to make sure that I think April would be better, given the agendas are going to be packed for February and March. So I'm like, I guess April will be the only option. So I'm still working on that. So that's that.
Great. Thank you, Cordell. I appreciate it. Peter?
Yes. Does anybody know what happened to the Grape Nest? It's closed now and just closed like a week, within the last week.
I think I might have an answer to that one, because I noticed that too. In the past week or so, it's been like,
yeah,
whenever I pass through the Grape Nest, it's like it's usually be jam packed.
All the signs are
like,
down. It's definitely completely closed.
I said, what I would do is I would talk with the owner tomorrow to find
They
out
said they
what's
couldn't make it financially. They posted somewhere on Nextdoor or something. I don't remember. They said they just couldn't make it financially.
Yeah, I thought Marlena was doing okay.
And I saw a moving van a few days ago.
Oh, that's sad. Okay.
That's sad. Okay. Does anybody else have any? Don't see any. Okay. So
Well, I have a quick question about your statistics. Did you say that the most calls for service this month were or December or whatever, were on the 100 block of West Richmond? Because they're usually
Hold on,
at
let
the
me-
Todd
let me
Hotel,
open up
which,
the report. Jesse, give me a sec.
okay.
What was your question again?
You said, okay, you said you were telling how many about calls for service in the point.
Okay, yeah, the top 5 locations was the 7 calls for service at the 100 block of Park Place,
Yep.
6 calls for service on the 100 block of West Richmond.
Yeah, see, that doesn't make any sense because that's my block and we don't have any action now that El Tunel has changed hands.
Well,
But
we did this time.
oh my God, so we beat out our block beat out the Todd Hotel this time.
Yeah, and then there were 4 calls for service at 3 locations. The 10 block, I don't know if I think that's supposed to be the 100 block of East Richmond Avenue, the 900 block of West Cutting, which is the Sure Stay, and then the intersection of West Cutting and Canal.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what we had. And I think one of those calls where the assault with a deadly weapon, but not a firearm on a emergency service person was on Richmond Avenue. Cause I remember getting it in Crime Spot. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. Is there any in remembrances and celebrations?
I do.
Okay, Cordell.
So I guess I don't know if everybody heard about Irma Anderson passed.
Yeah.
93 years of age, and I'm like, that is amazing. So I just saw her last month at a gala for Nat Bates, and I was like, so Irma Anderson, that's one, and then let's see, oh dear,
For those who may not know who Irma Anderson
that's
was.
the other one. That's the only one I know.
Yeah, her husband was Booker T. Anderson, and that is who the Booker T. Anderson Community Center is named for, her husband. And she was the first Black council member and only Black mayor woman for the city of Richmond. So in the early 2000s was when she was the mayor. So okay, with that, and we are late. My apologies, 17 minutes, but I hope the discussion was worth it to get some forward movement on this significant traffic issue we have going on to get everybody some relief. So we're working on it. Please let us know if situations continue to arise and we will communicate them to the people at the various agencies and with the city of Richmond. And with that, thank you very much and happy Valentine's Day to everybody.
Thank you. Great meeting, Lisa. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you.
Good.
Bye.
Night.
Bye.
Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa, you did a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you.
Good
You're-
job.
Thanks.